What's up, UTSA Underground? It's Eann. 30 minutes of drum and bass and dubstep coming right up.
Rise from your grave. Rise from your grave.
quiet cause you could get bitch. I keep a chopper, it's
I'm on some other shit. I'm on some other shit.
Techno music. They hold illegal parties playing techno music.
Rave organisers planned their event with tickets, never giving away the venue.
Yeah, it was literally ripped himself apart.
I'll show you my power!
So basically,
basically,
you. Yo. Got him. Break the yeah. You know what's get fucked up. Let's go. Break your fucking. Got him. Break the yeah. You know what's it's time to
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Well, there's no problem. If you had a gun, shoot him in the head.
got him. Let me see your hands up, 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 hands up.
Wanna get a piece of the pie, but they don't have the elbow grease to the time. Everybody wanna be adored in the eyes of the people without even giving it a try. Everybody wants to see the name up in lights, but they don't realize doesn't happen overnight. Everybody wanna be, but they bitch in the wine when they find that their dreams don't materialize. Everybody wanna get that love, everybody wanna get their brain fucked up. Everybody wanna get the money in the bank, but when they gotta move, then they don't wanna budge. Every man wanna get that love, everybody wanna get their brain fucked up. Everybody wanna get the money in the bank, but when they gotta move, then they don't wanna budge.
Hey, fire, fire, it's getting lit like a lighter. Look in the eye of the tiger, I see your eyes getting brighter. I'm sweet like honey inside her. You got some skills to acquire. You might as well just retire, cause this is what you desire. You want it.
You want it.
Hey everybody, welcome to Virtual Underground Experience. Not only will you get to see these local San Antonio artists and bands perform at our online music and arts festival during Underground Week, which is May 4th to May 8th, but now you get to also meet and greet them behind the scenes. So today, we welcome Eann. Eann, welcome to the show.
What's happening? How you doing?
Doing very well. I hope you're staying safe, and here is a safe quarantine round of applause just for you.
Boom. I like it.
Good to see you, Eann. So thank you for being here today. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about your music, your craft, your inspirations, and how the journey of being a San Antonio DJ has treated you. So first, let's start off by introducing yourself. Tell us about your music. Tell us about your creative process, who you are as a person, and anything about yourself that you'd like to
Okay,
share.
that's a good question, honestly. So my name's Eann. I've been making music for about 6 years now. I started in late 2013. I bought a copy of FL Studio from somebody in a parking lot of a Walmart from Craigslist, and it was my first copy of a DAW ever. So I first started with FL, found out it wasn't for me, and switched to Ableton. I've been using Ableton for about 6 years ever since then. I mostly make bass music. I started off by trying to make my sound mirror Masa or softer artists like that. But rhythm started peaking in 2017, and I found a groove, and I found a way I could get my sound and my unique take on the genre out. I decided to hop on that and just take that advantage. But ever since then, I'm making rhythm, bass music, and even dabbling in drum and bass right now.
Awesome. And you said your genres include drum and bass and...
My genres are drum and bass, rhythm, bass music, usually the bigger dubstep, stay-at-home names, and even some trap music sometimes. I try to keep it around the board, you know.
Got it. Good. That sounds very influential. I'd love to hear it. I can't wait to see your set because I myself am a electric DJ techno kind of fan myself. So I look forward to seeing your set during Underground. Do you have a certain message that you're trying to convey, or a mood or a vibe that you're trying to express through the music that you create?
Good question. I feel like usually I play my music out in the party settings. So when people want to hear it, they're trying to go crazy and go wild. But that's only effective in that one setting. And when you're trying to make other types of music, you have to make it, you have to curate it for different areas. So I like to try to find the right type of music for the exact right setting at any given moment. And that I try to carry that into my own music too, when it comes to the energy I bring to a song.
So, Eann, this COVID-19 pandemic affects several industries, but especially the music industry, with canceled live performances and social media live performances recorded at home. What have you been doing to keep up with your artistry and musicianship for when you can DJ publicly again?
Well, honestly, this COVID crisis has been a really good opportunity to just hone in on certain aspects of my craft I'm not the best at. At this time, it's taken a lot of time away from school as well. I'm a student here at UTSA, and with all of our in-person classes being canceled, I was able to take all that time and allocate it a lot more efficiently towards my own projects. So when I have that free time, I'm working on music. I finished like 2 EPs since I've been in this COVID crisis, and honestly, the production level has gone up a lot. I've appreciated that. Yeah.
That's awesome. You're not the first person to say, the first musician, producer to say that this COVID has kind of been a blessing in disguise, in the sense that it gives you the time to work on your craft and your music. Whereas when things were open and normal, you had work, you had school, you had performances, you had live gigs, and you were very restricted to the time that you had to make new music. But it sounds like that you're on the same boat as far as having this time.
I see it as a good thing, honestly. I know a lot of people, some people don't even make music in the industry. So this time that they have off from actually taking the shows and using the time on the road, they can use to actually learn and hone that skill, and that skill can be marketed for even better gigs in the future. So it's a blessing for everybody, honestly.
Absolutely. Completely agree. So, Eann, tell me about what keeps you motivated and thriving as a producer for those times that maybe you're not in the mood or you don't feel as discouraged, or the times that maybe you've got a roll going and then you're on the roll and you feel like you can't be stopped. What is it that creates this motivation and thriving for you?
Honestly, say that get on a roll, say that ever happens is rare. I'm always constantly doubting myself. So whenever I do put out music, it's after weeks of deliberation and me thinking like it's not good enough and me like tuning it into like a perfect piece of art. So my motivation comes from I think just seeing the innovation in the scene and looking at other artists that have been in the scene for longer than I have and are doing even like way more amazing things. Like take for instance, there are a lot of UK artists. There's Annex, there's Metris, there's Noisy, of course. They've been doing everything for like last 20 years. I just try looking at the nooks and crannies for the artists that people aren't really propping up to those high levels and see what makes them tick and what makes them really flow and crank out more music. And that's where I pull a lot of inspiration from.
That's pretty awesome. So it sounds like the art itself is the motivation for
Yes,
you
definitely
to.
the craft of making music and production. There's a whole art form behind it, and many people miss it because there's a way to get in and get out. You can make a product inside the machine and get it back out, and not have a really full understanding of what you've done inside that instrument, which is each VST is an actual instrument. So yeah.
Well, Eann, the life of a musician or a DJ could be like what you see in the movies, and crazy, unexpected things can happen during a performance at any time. Is there a crazy, unexpected moment that you'd like to share that you've ever experienced as a performing DJ?
That's a good question. Um, I'd say a really memorable experience from a live performance. I was playing with my two friends, Christian and Anthony, as our trio Eat, and we had a gig. And for some reason, in our DJ booth, the fog machine control was right behind us on the floor. And the lady who owned the bar came up to us and she said, "Hey, you can use that anytime you want." She gave us the keys to the castle. So I was, all right, bet. So halfway through the set, the room was filled with smoke. Like you couldn't see anything. And she came back in the back and said, "Hey, we got to cut this off. You got to stop now." But that was a fun time. Honestly, it was a great venue.
That sounds like fun. Where was that? Here in town or somewhere
That
else?
was here in town. Yes, sir. I think it was
Wonderful.
800 live downtown. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think another DJ was mentioning 800 Live too. I can't remember who that was, but yeah. So it seems to be a spot. So Eann, where do you see yourself, your music, and your DJing career 1 to 3 years from now? Do you DJ as more of a hobby, or is this something that you want to pursue as a lifelong career?
DJing, I picked up more as a hobby. I've only been DJing for about 3 years now, honestly. I started that after production because I got into music because I liked making the actual music and I like the technical aspect of it. And playing it out is just for fun. Those are the parties, and that's why it can be a good career, but have that be my bread and butter is not my number one modus operandi. You know, I would rather have a mixed bag of things to pull from, and when one avenue doesn't go down the way you want, you can just turn up another one, and you have options.
True, of course. It's always good to have options and be able to go in any different direction of where you never know
You never
where
know. Yeah.
where its career may take you. And you mentioned that you're a student at UTSA. What are you graduating, majoring in?
I'm majoring in economics.
Wonderful.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a dream job or a dream career within economics?
Not necessarily. I am a learning trader right now, learning as much as I can when it comes to that. As long as I can work to be self-employed and do music on the side on my own time, then that's the goal.
If you could collaborate with any artist or DJ or producer, who would that be and why?
For a good question. So for dubstep music, there's a producer from England called Odd Prophet. I've been following him for about 4 years. He's really good. I would be I'd aim to make something as heavy as possible with him. But for drum and bass, which is something I've been working on recently, uh, Camel and Crooked is a duo from Europe. I don't know where in Europe, but they're another good artist that you should check out if you can. I would love to I would love to have a collab with them. So for Odd Prophet, he just dropped a song called Migraine. You can check that out on Never Say Die. And then Cameron and Crooked, there's a song called Callisto, starts with a K. And you can find that on their website as well.
Awesome. I'll be sure to check that out. Who or what inspires the music that you create? Are there producers and DJs that you're most influenced by?
The producer that really influenced me the most when I got into mixing and mastering and like actually making music was Miramasa with his Someday Somewhere album. I don't know if that was 2017, but that was not 2017. That was like 2014, a while ago. That was one of the first albums I thought, wow, this is something you can actually turn into like a craft. It's an art. So ever since then, I started honing my art form. Miramasa has been one. Deadmau5 was a big figurehead that got a lot of people into EDM, I know, but he was honestly one of my first like big artists that I fanboy about because there was Faction Berlin, and then like every single one of the albums, like 4x4's 12. Those are all great, like legendary albums. A lot of people don't know about right now because they don't stand out in the scene. They're not like heavily branded, but it's still like quality music.
No, you're exactly right. In fact, I'm so glad you brought up Deadmau5. I am a huge fan of Deadmau5.
Awesome.
I saw him once at ACL. I can't remember how many years ago. And I saw him once in El Paso a few years before that. And man, he put on one hell of a show.
Was it on his the Mousetrap tour?
I can't quite remember. The one in El Paso, that sounds about right, Mousetrap.
The Cube tour.
The Cube tour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. That was going on last year because I went to a show as well. That's awesome.
Oh man, I love Deadmau5, man. I love that whole 4x4 album that you mentioned too. That's I could just get lost in that.
That's lit.
Hell yeah.
You're OG fan then, honestly.
And you're right. I don't think Deadmau5 hasn't really released anything recently that I know of, or at least that I heard of.
No, his last album I think was over a year ago, and even he said himself that they were like his throwaways. But he's been doing a lot more label things. Like he signed a couple new kids to the Mousetrap label this year, but they're really good artists as well. They're solid. So I've been looking at Deadmau5's work for so long now. I'm a big fan, of course.
We have time for a few would you rather questions, just because, in all fairness, we've asked these questions to every other artist. I don't want to shortchange you. So let me ask you a few.
Okay.
Okay, so in the realm of DJing and producing, this is going to tell me a lot about whether or not I like you, Eann. It's going to be this question right here.
I'm ready.
Would you rather spend the day with Deadmau5 or Tiesto?
Okay. Easy question. Deadmau5, of course, because just the lifestyle you be dealing with. If you were a day with Tiesto is a day touring, like you're in Ibiza, you're with all the models everywhere, you have like the champagne. That's cool if you're a DJ and you really like that stuff, and I do, but not all the time. So I feel like a day with Deadmau5, that would be priceless. The knowledge you pull away from that, like going inside his actual home studio and learning from him and learning and pulling from his sample packs. You can do a lot with that information, probably more than a day with Tiesto, honestly. Probably a day with Deadmau5 would lead to a day with Tiesto, I'd say.
Yeah, I think certainly on the music side, you learn a lot more from Deadmau5, no doubt. He is an absolute genius. Are you aware that he has his own masterclass?
Yeah, I am, yeah. I saw that, like, when they first announced it, like, I don't know if it was more than 2 years ago now.
Yeah, it was.
Like, it was him. I know he had a masterclass with Steve Duda as well, and Razor promoted it on their website, but that was around the same time. I remember I watched those. Those were great. Those were priceless.
I love that promo of the Deadmau5 and his masterclass.
Oh yeah, me too.
And it really kind of got me even thinking, because I come from a background. I used to work at a bar downtown San Antonio called Club Sirius. It's on. I was working there for 6 years, and the bar owner took me and the 2 video DJs there to Vegas for a video DJ conference. I'm not a DJ, but I was happy to be in the scene. We saw not Alesso. I saw him the next time I went to Vegas. Disco Fries.
Disco Fries.
Have you heard of them?
I don't think so.
Check them out. They go pretty crazy. we just went crazy inside. What was the name of that club? It's one of the big chandelier at Club XS. I don't know if you've been to Las Vegas before.
I've been to Hakkasan, and
Oh yeah.
I don't know who I saw at another club. It was Hakkasan, and then I don't know if it might have been XS. I saw Diplo and Crank That last year.
Ooh,
The Crank That at Hakkasan was wild. But
I'm trying to remember if we saw Diplo too. I don't think so. I think I just heard of Diplo, or you know what it was? There was like XS. There were podcasts of DJ Diplo from XS. That's what I heard. I wish I would have seen him. That would have been crazy. That was before that group that he made, Mad Decent and
Mad Decent. Like you?
And what?
Oh, hold on.
I don't want to look it up.
Everybody knows him. Major Lazer.
Major Lazer, yes, thank you, yes. And he also was part of a Netflix documentary of him going to Jamaica, I think, or was that?
Yeah, with the Snoop Dogg.
Oh, okay, they were together, right? I thought they were two different things.
He was in it for a couple minutes. No, he had his own documentary too, I think, but he showed up in Snoop Dogg's his documentary as well. That was funny.
Okay, so maybe they were filming down there at the same time.
It could have been. It's possible.
Would you rather? What's more of your vibe? Would you rather perform and DJ on the beach, whether it be a festival or a show, or is more your vibe like New York City ball drop, New Year's Eve kind of thing?
Ball drop, New Year's Eve, like a club life type of lifestyle versus outdoors versus indoor versus.
Pretty much.
Okay. That's a hard question because I've had good experiences in both, but I'd say indoors is a lot easier because anywhere outside, you have to deal with the sun. You're looking at the CDJs and sometimes you can't see what's playing. You go like this with your hand, you have to kind of glare down. If you're on the beach, then you get sand everywhere. I've gotten sand inside of my decks before. That's actually happened. That happened last summer, and I have to unscrew it and pull it out.
Oh,
I've gotten a lot of stuff on my CDJs, honestly. Like one time we had wasps everywhere inside the DJ booth, and I was like, we need somebody to get wasp spray. And I'm like, all right, I got you. And this guy went and got wasp spray, and he came back with it. He started spraying it, had the wasp everywhere. I was like, what are you doing, bro? Don't do that. And I looked down at my mixer, and literally all the poison just settled right there. And it was like 10 minutes before it started. So before I was just like scrubbing it with the
man,
and clean it up. Yeah.
Wow, but you speak from experience that maybe when you're inside, you're not so subject to the elements.
Yes, definitely. So I'd say inside versus outside. Answer your question.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. Okay, well, this is the last question we've been asking all of our artists, and it's a music business question. What advice would you give to local bands, musicians, DJs, and producers who are trying to make it and break it into the music scene of San Antonio or the world?
Make it and break it into the scene or the world. I feel two different things. Honestly, at this point in time, it's really clear. In the scene is a hierarchy that's set up inside your local town or wherever. So you can, for different ways to attack that, you could like go and network with people. That's always a really good way to go and get your first show out. And that's how you get your name started and heard. But the world right now, the world scene is pretty much the internet. And there's so many DJs right now that you have to find a certain way to just differentiate yourself from the others. And it's just like finding a hole in the market. Honestly, you have to go and look at what everybody else is supplying and seeing if there's a subset of people that are looking for a certain thing at a certain time. And if you can provide that with your type of music in that way, especially on the world market, then you'll see those returns. People are going to start coming in and just flowing in and flocking to you. That'll be my best advice, I think. So there's two different approaches, I believe, when it comes to a scene and then like the world.
Well put. Yeah, I agree that finding your own niche, I think, is another way of saying exactly what you just said, and then just finding where it is that you belong, somewhere that nowhere else, no producer, DJ, artist is fulfilling, and make that yours, but also have it be something that's very personal to you, that you're not doing it just for that reason. You're doing it for the art form and your own personal original sound.
Yeah, it has to, just to make it lucrative, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, Ian, you've been amazing today. I appreciate your time, and I
Thank you.
know musicians, artists, and DJs aren't nearly as appreciated as they should be. It's a courageous thing you are doing to take your music to the next level and continue building your craft. I speak on behalf of M.O.B, Musicians of Business, when I say that we will always support you in your musical journey. Thank you for joining
Appreciate
us
it.
today. One last round of applause for Ian. Thanks
Appreciate it.
again. Now, go ahead and plug your social media handles. How can people find you and your work?
For sure. On Twitter, at it's Ian. On Instagram, Ian AF. On TikTok, Ian Music. SoundCloud, Ian Music. On Spotify, Ian EANN.
Got it. And yeah, just to clarify,
Just to
Eann
clarify.
is the way Ian is spelled, for those who don't know. Excellent. Well, that's all the time we have for today, but stay tuned for upcoming local band and artist interviews and performances on M.O.B social media. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at UTSA_MOB and UTSA_underground. We are musicians of business. And thank you, Ian, for being part of the virtual underground experience. That's it for today. We'll see you next time.
For sure.